hope this video finds you safe and well. It's been a crazy 2020, but I hope this year brings us lots of good health, freedom, and some consistency in my videos. I endeavour to make you lots of interesting sewing videos, but the travel may be a little bit slow. Let's pray 2021 is a safer and brighter year for everyone. There's been lots of atrocities around the world, one of which is very close to my heart, and that is the farmers' plight in India. The government rushed through some laws without any consultation, and now the farmers are protesting. You may have seen some of the slogans of the farmers protesting in Delhi. One read, "No farmers, no food," but unfortunately we can add to that, no farmers, no food, no fabric. In honour of the farmers, I would like to make my first video of 2021 in support of their protest. So join me and we'll make a nice pair of cotton harems, something that you can wear either on holiday or just lounging around at home until we can go on holiday. You find these really easy to make and really easy to wear. I'm using this cotton fabric. I bought this in Punjab when I was there last. It's got this beautiful mandala print on there that I'll use, that's gonna kind of hang in between my legs. And for the top waistband, I'm going to use the border. It's nice elephant and goat border, antelope actually, with a palm tree. Interesting. I'm going to use a black zip and some black thread. The thread doesn't have to be exact, there's not going to be any top stitch, hopefully. And as always, we need our measuring tape and our scissors. And we're also going to need some elastic. It really depends on whether you want this tight fit at the top, and also the amount of fabric you need is going to depend on your size. If you want them to go right down to your ankle and be full length, get yourself some 1.5 meter square of fabric if you can. That way you can decide the length. The first thing that I'm going to do is cut my middle out and just leave the bands on the side. I'm going to fold this fabric over directly in the middle of my pattern. You're also going to need some pins. We're nowhere without our pins. They're going to help us get everything right. My fabric is 46 inches wide, so I'm going to make my marking at half of that, 23 inches, because I've doubled this over. So you can see here I've marked in my pins, and these are all showing me where to cut. So I'm going to keep the pins on the outside of my cut, and I'm just going to go straight from one pin to the next. Okay, this is the fabric we have for the waistband. I'm going to put this to one side. This is the fabric once we open it up. You can see we have a square, and the reason why we wanted it to be square is because we're going to put the opposite corners together, and we're going to have our waist cut here. And when you hold them, you can see already that this is giving us the effect of the leg and the fabric that dangles, giving us those beautiful pleats. Now what you want to do is take your hip measurement and cut this fabric. Remember, this is on the bias, it's got a little bit of give, so as to not shorten it too much, try and cut as little as possible. So we've got our square fabric folded over once diagonally, and now we're going to fold it over again. I wouldn't worry too much about leveling this fabric off precisely, just because it's on the bias, and you keep moving it, it's just going to keep on shifting. My hip is 38, so I want to cut this at 19, which would be half of that, and because we halved it again, that would give us 9.5. Allowing for the bias, I would recommend that you cut once, and if you need to make it bigger, cut again. So I'm going to knock off another inch from my measurement, and I'm just going to hold my measuring tape along my triangle until I get the 8.5 inch that I need, which is here. Now you can hold this fabric either this way or this way, and what you get is a little difference in the amount that's going to get lifted in the middle. So depending on what kind of shape you're going for, go absolutely straight this way if you want to have less hanging, or go equally across if you want to have more hanging. Okay, and what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to pin in my measurement, and I want I don't want too much low hanging, I want it to hang around my knees. So I'm going to do this across this way, and that's my 8.5 here. You just need to put in 2 pins. Now when you open this out, it depends on the fabric that you're using as to how much this material is going to drop. Mine is actually too small, so I'm going to cut away a little bit more. This time I'm giving it a slight round finish. That's also going to help extend the measurement here. So let's see how much this gives us. I'm trying to achieve 19 inches. 17, so I've got a little bit more to do. Each time you're cutting any more away from the waist, refold your fabric, you'll get an even cut here. So I have 17, I'm just going to cut a little more off. The danger is when you cut away too much, you're also cutting away the length, and you don't want that. We've got this stretch in it here, and when I hold this out and I stretch it, I can achieve 20, which is just right because it'll give me some seam allowance. To make the actual waistband, I'm going to take one end of the Harems, take 38 inches and allow another 2 inches just for seam allowance. So I'm going to cut this at 40. So I'm just going to put my nip in here, put in a marker. You can put in pins if you want, but because this is a small cutting, I'm just going to put in a nip. Now you just need to cut that extra off. If you wanted to make a pocket or something like that, you can save this just to have a little pocket there. So we've cut away the top of our outfit. It's going to be our waistband, and that's all we need to do at this stage. Let's get the sewing machine and start sewing this together. Hem both sides of the triangle so that you can put your foot in there, so that if this is my foot and it's going to go through this gap, long as my foot can get through this gap, that is how much you want to hem. So for me, that's around 8 inches on both sides of that triangle. That's what you're looking for. A nice neat corner for your foot to go into. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew this side seam down, and that is the entrance of your foot. And just sew these seams down. Do a double stitch to start, and then sew all the way down this side. My sewing machine is on its last leg. Please don't go, not now. It's not moving. can go backwards if it starts. Okay, so that is one side done. Foot entrance and side sewn. So we want to do the same for the other side, and then we can join the waistband. The only difference when you're sewing the second side of your outfit is that you're going to leave a little bit open so that you can put in a zip if you're putting in a zip. But if you're not, if you're only going to have an elastic at the top and you're just going to pull them up, you don't need to do this. You can sew the whole of the leg. But if you're going to have a zip, just keep some of that open. Now that opening will depend on your measurement. So physically try them on and see how much space you need to have open there. I'm keeping about 5 inches open. So this is my open part for the zip, and this is me closing down the leg. I'm sure you don't want to watch that bit sewn. And we've got our harems almost done. We've done the seam on the side so we can get our legs in here, and we've got the waist. Now I had left some space so that I could put on a zip, but it looks like I might not need it. Find your cutoff that you kept for the waistband, and you want to attach that to your bottoms. I'm actually going to sew my fabric over like that, as opposed to what you would normally do is kind of join them facing and then pull it over. Yeah, I've noticed my fabric is actually fraying here, so I'm just doing a zigzag at the end so that I don't have any fraying. I've actually got the wrong sides of my fabrics together, and I want to join my waistband so only this much overhangs. So I'm actually going to use this line here as a guide, and just very carefully, because this is on the bias and this is straight, just pin this together if it helps you. Sometimes it's actually better to leave this free hand. And now, because I want to feed the bias fabric nice and carefully, and use the bottom line as a guide, I wouldn't be able to do that if it's pinned down. I've joined the waistband and I'm quite happy with that. I think that looks really nice, and I've tried them on. Now the good thing is I can actually sew that up, because I can see that even with that sewn I can get them on nice and comfortably. If you don't know how to put on a zip, you can follow my video, and I'll link it in the description and in the eye above. And it's really easy. I've made a video on how to put on an invisible zip in 5 easy steps. So just follow that if you do need to add a zip, but if you don't, let's continue. We can close that side seam, and we can add the elastic. The way I'm actually going to make my space for my elastic at the top of the waistband is I'm just going to turn the top of it over to my pattern. So I've got a little guide. I'm going to follow this line here, but I'm not going to start at one end. I'm actually going to start at the middle, so that I get the even amount of fabric on both sides, and I don't get any kind of bias in there and any pulling. So just sew all the way round. I've made the space for the elastic. So the next step is to measure out how much elastic you're going to need and feed it through. Now what I want to do is sew the elastic on the edges and just on the halfway stage, so that the elastic doesn't twist on the inside, because there's nothing worse than having that feeling, is there? So I've measured this elastic out, so there's enough to go around my bottom, and I can pull them up nice and easy, but it also tugs me quite nicely here so that they don't go anywhere. Once I've pulled them up, they're not going to fall down. Just feed your elastic through. Keep gathering like this and pulling like that until you're all the way through. When you've come to the end, be very careful not to lose any of it. So take off your safety pin and put on a normal pin just to hold that in place, and carefully feed that through. Make sure it's sort of straight all the way, and put a pin on the other side. First of all, secure the elastic on the halfway point. So I'm just going to do a little, either a box seam or something here. And that should be enough to keep that in place. And then the ends, so I'm going to remove the pin, bring the elastic right to the edge like that, and just sew that down, and the same on the other side. And we're ready to do the last seam of our outfit. I've actually pinned down my fabric so that I could try to pattern match this. I'm going to start from the top, so from the elastic. This is going to make sure that the elastic and the side seam is all smooth into one seam where we had left the leg in, because at the beginning we thought we needed a zip. And there we have it. We've got our harems, and the pattern matching is pretty good too. The tassels are looking nice, and just one thing left to do is try them on and make my thumbnail. If you enjoyed this video and if you would like to see more ways of making harems, then please click subscribe, and you can also click the bell button. That way you'll get a notification every time I upload a new video. And you can also leave me a comment on what you liked about it, what you would like to see different. If you have any questions, please just put it all in the comments below and I'll reply to everybody. Thank you very much. And again, thank you very much to the farmers in India for fighting for their rights and for the future. Let's hope that they get their demands met so that they can live a sustainable lifestyle and we get to enjoy the fruits of their labour.